Oh, hello. You must be here to be in the bar. Yes, by all means, we are open and ready for business. You know, as customary as it goes with Joe's Bar, I'd like to first welcome everybody to Joe's Bar. We are live, and our VIP guests will be arriving very shortly. And I can't wait for you all to meet them and talk to them. And we've got great specials tonight, so I hope that you guys all enjoy that and indulge in that as well. How about we start with a little poem for this evening? And tonight's selection I have picked is called Her Burden, and it is by the incredible, awesome author, Robert Cano. And it's an amazing poem. I hope I can do it just a little bit of justice. It was the lull, the soundlessness, the dull, numbing lack. It was the tear, the falling curtain. Certainly her sorrows were worn in her eyes. It was the horror, the creeping doubt, which held her still. A mirror, cold and silent, returned her stares, with eyes not her own. Sorrowed tears fall. Hope was forlorn, a concept lost. She thinks it was of her making. He comes to rescue, but it is irrelevant, rendered a nothing, a mere footnote. It was his joy, the moving mouth she gazed upon, from which no sound could escape, that sent her from him, or him from her. It was her sadness, her burden, and no one could be allowed to take it from her. Yeah, it's on that cheery note. Welcome to Joe's Bar. And I see some VIP guests joining us here. Let me bring some guys in. Oh, look at that. I think we've had this gentleman here before. Hi, Josh.
Hey, thanks for having me back again, Joe.
Hi, Diana. Nice to see you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm very cool that you brought your lovely wife with you to this occasion. I really appreciate that. And
you did a date night.
Yeah, and she is my better half, so I'm better having her with me.
There's no doubt about that. I would concur. Josh, I just want to let you know that tonight I have an opportunity, because the last time you were on, we kind of heckled you a little bit and kind of tried to destroy your nerdum cred. We had a little fun with you. I have an opportunity for you tonight to redeem yourself, just so you know. So I hope it all goes well for you. Otherwise, I don't know that you'll ever fully recover from this one if you don't get it. But we'll see. But I'll try hard to help you out. You know, we do have a way with one another, just that we don't have to speak. So I think maybe you'll pick up what I'm putting down a little bit.
Okay.
We'll hopefully get you through there. Oh, yeah. Look, we've got some more Carolinas with us here, Mr. Ed and KINDRA SOWDER. Welcome, guys. Nice to see you.
Just tell me where I can get a bourbon, a scotch, and a beer.
Coming right up, sir. Right here, right now. Let's do it. Let's get it going. How you guys doing? I see you guys bought a new car today. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, she's my DD.
I'm not, by the way.
well, good enough that we're not sponsored by Uber, but we do have Uber standing by, so you'll be all right. We'll take care.
Okay, cool.
We're gonna need.
You know, we're a good enough place to do so. So, welcome and thank you for joining us. And along with that, we bring in another great team here, Mike and Lauren FERIA. Did I say that? FERIA. Yeah. See, I'm terrible with last names. It took me.
With wings.
It took. I practiced Robert's last name, the gentleman whose poem I just read. I practiced his last name like 1,000 times because I knew I was going to screw it up. So
everybody does.
Yeah.
And I hope I did him justice tonight. I hope I came at least closer than I've been in the past. But welcome, guys. It's nice to have you.
Thank you very much.
Glad to be here.
Is nice and prevalent. It looks great. Thank you for dressing up for us. That's awesome.
I didn't even realize she was doing that for the show tonight. And then I told her while her hair was all wet,
and like full of paint. And I was like, oh yeah, we have a show tomorrow. Remember? And she,
True story.
Well, it looks great.
I like it though.
Oh, it looks
It's
Turned out
fun.
It
fantastic.
looks amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, look at this. We have the impressive Megan Morgan, who's here with us, and the equally impressive Eric Christopher Myers, filmmaker. He's the lone filmmaker. Although you guys just put out a book about your film, which is very interesting. That's kind of an interesting concept. Talk a little bit about that for a second.
That's coming soon. That's coming out in August. And it's called In the Blink of an Eye. And they are the continued stories of the Blink of an Eye. Who is the main protagonist or the main bad guy, if you will, in the movie Butterfly Kisses. And it's a compilation by multiple authors, some in Maryland, some from the UK, from all over. And it's all about the band, and they're each set in a different decade, and it's pretty awesome.
Are you actually writing a story for that, Eric? Are you actually becoming an author with that?
I am. I'm doing an introduction and an afterword, or I think I'm doing an afterword. I don't even know at this point. Not to be flippant, but it's kind of weird to have created a mythology for a film that, other people are coming along and saying, we want to, turn this into we want to make an anthology with all of these very, very talented people who are, taking my concept and running with it. It's really kind of, in a way, it's challenging from the original story myself, but challenging in a good way.
Nice. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us here at Joe's Bar, and thank you to the audience out there. We really appreciate it. I see the comments are just flowing at an unbelievable rate, and hopefully we'll get some interesting questions and some interesting comments. My better, to answer Rebecca's question, she asked where my better half is. My better half is smart enough not to come on here with me. I'll be the one who embarrasses myself a bit. So, but no, she it's all good. Somebody has to manage all this, so it just feels easier for me to do it with all this space for myself. So I'm selfish. Let's just put it that way. Anyway. All right, so we have some great drink specials tonight, and the folks here already know about them. I'm gonna talk about them a little bit here in a second, but first I do want to talk about our pseudo sponsor tonight, which is my indie beer choice for this bar episode, and it was a group that I met at the Bash Festival that I was at earlier last Saturday. And it's a company called the 21st Amendment Brewery. And this is El Sully. It is a Mexican lager. And it's named for the brewmaster O'Sullivan's alter ego, El Sully. It's brewed with a Pilsner and Vienna malts, flaked maize, and Mexican lager yeast to create a bright, refreshing flavor that rings in a drinkable 4.8 ABV. I don't know what ABV is, but it tastes fantastic, and I'll have a full review of this beer and a little bit more about it on my Instagram channel tomorrow on the IGTV. I'll do a full review, and you can go and watch that as well. But I want to get these lovely folks in here to talk about themselves. And enough about my beer. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy it. And I hope that you have a great beer or whatever cocktail you have to enjoy as well. And we have some drink specials tonight. And so I'll go over those real quickly. Our 4 drink specials, we're only doing 4 tonight. We've done 6 in the past, and we've discovered that's way too many. So 4 is about the right number. And so tonight we're going to be featuring the Wacky Wake Up Juice, the Admiral Absinthe Tea, Dark Chocolate Cherry Explosion, and the Jagermeister Maestro Stroke. And I will allow anybody here in the audience want to pick one, that's fine. We'll do that. Anybody in our chat lounge want to pick one? But let's start with somebody here who wants to jump in and pick one, and we'll go here.
I say that we pick that dark chocolate cherry explosion.
Awesome. I knew that Josh was going to do that. Everybody. So the dark chocolate cherry explosion. One horrific scene in a book or movie that disturbed, or what might be more apropos for this bunch, intrigued or stimulated you that you'll never forget. Who wants to go first? Go ahead, Diana.
This is something that I shared several times with Josh, and for several years in my life made me irrationally fearful of aliens. The Greys, more specifically. But in that movie, Fire in the Sky,
That was a good movie.
Yeah.
yeah, the scene where the guy's on the table and they put that sheet on him that like suctions to his face, and he opens his mouth, and they just that whole scene right there. It ruined me as a child.
That's what you should
That
be
was based on a true story.
making the spouse answer the question for their spouse. Of course, I would know that. Absolutely.
We're not playing the newlywed game. We're here having fun, all right? Plus, I don't want to embarrass anybody because we're not all married here. So it's
That's
you know.
fair.
But anyway, who wants to go next? That's a great one. I love that. Go ahead, Ed.
I didn't realize that I had an irrational fear of clowns until Poltergeist.
Oh,
Original.
There's clowns and
I had that same fucking clown.
oh,
And I didn't realize I was afraid of it until I watched that movie. And after that clown left my room, period. So
that movie to me for a very long time was my favorite ending to any movie ever. The moment when they go into the hotel and then throw out the TV into the pool is the greatest thing ever. That's one of my all-time favorite endings to a movie.
I still don't like clowns. I don't have a flight reflex, but I will punch one in its red nose.
Being the man who's made horror movies, I'm really curious to hear Erik's answer to this question.
For me, it would be a book and a movie. It would be The Exorcist. And I read the book when I was 11 and then saw the film immediately after reading it. And the most traumatizing scene for me in both the book and in the film is the scene in which Linda Blair, as the little girl, is beginning to fully manifest possession. Yes, and she maims her genitals with a crucifix. And it's sort of, the ultimate act of desecration that allows, the demonic entity to be able to fully take her under control. And for me, that was so horrifying. It was so vicious. It was so cruel that the first thing that came into my mind is I have to create something that does this to somebody else someday. That'd be me.
Eric, I'm with you.
I
I read that and watched the movie as a child, and I was like, whoa. I grew up Catholic, so I'm like, whoa. So. Yeah.
Somehow it's more vicious in the book. Which is amazing.
Because in the book, it's masturbation. In the film, it is violent stabbing rape. It's rape in either scenario, but there's something that is presented as being horribly sensual about it in the book, and in the film, it's just violent stabbing. Very different.
I have a similar one for me. It's the book version as opposed to the movie version. But the moment in Misery when she puts the rod between his legs and destroys his ankles, that in the book is so vivid, and I literally had to put the book down and go, okay, I need to take a moment for that.
In the book, his foot is cut off, and then the stump is cauterized with a blowtorch.
Yeah. I get that they can't repeat that in the movie, but it would have been nicer to have had a little bit more of what that book, because the book it doesn't do the book justice at all for that scene, especially in the movie. But
well, the book also has that wonderful claustrophobia where you are stuck with Paul Sheldon. You only discover the house he's in room by room as he discovers it room by room.
Yeah,
and you're constantly jumping to the outside to ancillary characters. And
yeah, it's my favorite King book by far.
Plus, his pinky never gets cut off and stuck on the end of a birthday cake. So, I mean, that automatic dunk.
How about you, Mike? What's yours?
Honestly, I think the scariest movie I've ever seen was The Evil Dead, the one that came out back in like 2013, and it was like a remake of the older movies. And like when the girl gets the demon thing in her, and her eyes turn yellow, and everyone's like, "Oh my god!" And they like throw her down into the basement, and the door shut. And she puts her head up, and she's like, "Hi." And like tormenting them, and her eyes are like yellow, and her teeth are all black, and she's like just really gross. And I went and I saw that in the movie theaters, and some parents brought their kids there. They were like 6 and 8 years old, and when they were leaving the theater, the parents were like walking down the stairs like this, and the kids ran out of the theater. I was like, wow, that big mistake. You guys aren't going to sleep alone ever again.
Actually, I think those are pretty awesome parents, but
Yeah, I agree.
I would have taken Carson to see it too, but I didn't know it was going to be like it. Yeah, we did. You saw it.
How about you, Megan?
Well, afterwards, we printed out.
Oh, dude.
We printed out a thing on our printer of a clown with really pointy teeth that was on a black background, and we cut the white out of it and taped it to the outside of his window. And while I was tucking him in that night after we got home from the movie, I got Mikey to go outside and tap on the window, and I got the whole thing on video.
Okay. More in your shit.
Amazing. It was funny.
All right, this video will not be back on YouTube after tonight, but that's all right.
Why not? Why? What did you do? All right.
Megan, how about you?
From my childhood, there's that moment in the first Jurassic Park movie where what is the blonde woman who she goes down to turn the power on?
Ellie.
Yeah, and then she like backs into like this set of panels, and that hand of the one guy falls down onto her shoulder, and she thinks she's safe. And she like grabs it and like pulls away and realizes that Samuel L. Jackson is dead and we're all like gonna die now because of the Raptors. As an adult, the thing that's probably messed me up the most and stuck with me has been in Pet Sematary when Gage gets hit. Sorry, spoilers. Gets hit by the truck, and there are just these two little details. It's this little boy's hat full of blood, and the like overalls flipped inside out. Those two things I will never forget ever in my entire life. Like, just not ever. And part of that is I'm a parent now and I have a little boy, and he was about Gage's age when I read that book, and it just totally messed me up permanently.
How about you, Josh?
Welcome.
Thank you.
My answer is actually not too novel because it's like Ed. The thing that threw me the most as a kid was the clown in Poltergeist. I've seen it when I was 7 years old, and I owned a clown just like it. And after seeing that at my grandparents' house, I came home, and every night for like a year, I threw that clown out of my room before I went to bed. Now, I don't have a fear of clowns now. They don't bother me at all. But after that movie, I did not like the clown stuffed animal that I had at all. As an adult, it looks much different in a picture than it did in my memory. But she's showing me what it looked like. Maybe that was exactly the same, but I had a clown and it terrified me. And then as an adult, is probably the final season of The Walking Dead where Negan is introduced to the baseball bat when Glenn gets hit. And I even knew it was coming because I'd read the novels long before, but the eyeball out of the head, like that image sticks with me forever. Like I cannot not see his skull caved in the eyeball poking out of his head.
That was actually the last episode we watched.
Yeah, we watched.
I watched
I didn't.
Now, typically, I laugh at horror films, which is why I don't go see them in movie theaters. Because I'm the crazy person on the side that just laughs and laughs and laughs. I seen the new It, and I couldn't stop laughing. It was so funny. So usually I don't go watch them, but
Kids laugh now too.
yeah.
All right. How about? I don't think Kindra's answered the question. How about you, Kindra?
I have not. So we're going back into childhood. Actually, it has to do with the original Pet Sematary movie. So I've always had this thing with little children that are either ghosts or undead, whatever.
Creepy.
They're creepy, and I can't do it. I can't. So with Gage, when he was coming after his daddy, the pout and the no fear always gets to me. Always.
Yeah.
No fear, always. And then, as far as adulthood, it's another Stephen King. The recent version of Gerald's Game, actually, where she degloves her hand. Sorry if there's spoiler alerts. I can't shake that.
That was a lot more graphic in the novel.
It was extremely graphic.
The novel, I was like, wow. Whereas on the movie, I was like, I know people who could have done that better.
And you know what? I don't usually shy away from horror movies at all, but the whole time I was like, you got to know what it's done. So I can't watch
All right, so the audience has decided on one. We have Miss A.F. Stewart, and Miss Stewart decided to pick one, and she wants us to answer the absinthe. And so the question for that one is: what quality of the person sitting next to you? What is the quality of the person? I'm butchering this. Sorry. What is the person sitting next to you possesses that you most admire and wish you had more of?
Go ahead. I can go first. It's easy. Did Eric think he was going?
Lauren's talking, but we can't hear her.
Oh, okay. So, with Michael, I wish that I had his follow through. Like, he will see something through to the end, no matter what obstacle hits him. It's really inspiring. Like, he gets an idea, he puts it down on paper, and he has a book. And I have no follow through. I have like 4 chapters of like 4 different books. I don't have any of that. I wish I did.
I wish that I had. If you got, let me sit a little closer. But I wish that I had her patience, because she's got like this much patience, like that much, and I've got like that much. I just have like no tolerance for the crap. So. But she's really is very very calm and understanding, more so than I could ever be.
Nice. Josh, you wanted to go ahead?
Yeah, it's easy for Diana. She finds joy in everything and laughs at everything, and it's wonderful to like live vicariously through her joy, because she just sees anything in the world and she gets so excited about it, and that's what makes me excited. Like usually I could care less or not look even once to even notice certain things, but her joy, I usually am criticizing things where she's enjoying things.
Well, thank you. I think with me, it's his ability to put so much on his plate and actually get through it all. Like if I, choose maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 different like tasks, and I don't get to the last 2, like I'll be like, all right, screw it. I don't care. I'm just gonna do what I can and move forward. But he gets through everything, like every time. And just the ability of multitasking, of having his mind in so many different places. I'm like, I don't know how in the world he does that. I thought it was like, isn't there like some stereotype about women being able to multitask? Because I fail like very in comparison.
He's an inspiration, I gotta tell you. I like Josh.
Okay, like Josh's ego is already blowing out of his hat.
Thank you all.
How about for you guys, Megan and Eric? What do you guys have the possess that one another is jealous of?
I would say for me, it is Erik's ability to see the forest through the trees. He has this amazing ability to see like the big picture that I'm like such a details person, but in a weird way. Erik sees like the big picture and like that's his focus. And he's always like going for whatever that image is that he has in his mind, whatever that, you know, like goal is. And he never loses sight of it. And to me, I'm like, I get sidetracked like all the time. And I so wish I had that ability to see what the larger goal is the way he does.
Thank you. In a bit of shameless self-promotion that I promise is actually leading to something here. Aside from being a filmmaker, I also write columns for Ain't It Cool News. And last month I did a daily series deconstructing Star Wars from hopefully angles that it hasn't been approached from. The reason we were late tonight is we were watching Spider-Man 2 because I'm writing a daily series on Spider-Man right now. So aside from doing fiction and aside from doing films, academic and critical analysis of genre and the conventions and tropes that we see in so many things, that's really a big thing for me. And Megan and I have so many interests in common, you know, comic books and sci-fi and fantasy and all these various things. And what I love about her is the fact that she sort of, you know, she gets where I'm coming from that academic or pseudo-academic perspective, but she's bringing a whole new argument into the conversation. She sees these things from a decidedly, I don't want to say feminist, but female-centric perspective. And so we're, you know, she is discussing all of the things that I'm talking about with me, whether it's over a beer or in writing. But we're talking about Spider-Man from, you know, the perspective of where women fit into this universe, where tropes are circumvented, where things change, how things are modeled a certain way for men versus for women, and how, as we progress into the 21st century, storytelling is changing. And she writes incredible essays, and, you know, her novel is incredible. And she's coming at it that way and taking old ideas and seeing them in a way that is very fascinating and enlightening to me.
Nice. All right, Ed and Kindra.
Ladies first.
No, goodness. Okay. So I was scrambling trying to think of something because there's just too much. So I really admire Ed, and it's been years, you know, and I admire him for his backbone. Stop it. Don't do me like that. So he is a lot more of a hard ass than I've ever been. He is able to say no when he needs to say it, and yes when he needs to say it, and he's able to tell you, you know, point blank where you're going wrong with something. And I admire him for that. I really do. Now, I used to be a huge pushover. I'm still somewhat of a pushover, but he's helped me a lot with that. But he's still a lot better at it than I am. I can say that.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Save it. It's pretty impressive. I think it was, you know, such a hard ass.
You are.
If I could just narrow it down to one thing with Kindra, I would like to have like the talent she has in one finger. Seriously, for creating worlds, creating characters, ideas, and rolling with them. She can. I can write like that much, but she just blows it out of proportion, and it just amazes me every time she sends me a chapter or something. Says, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, this is cool." Yeah, I wish I could write as good as her. as far as her personality goes, she is like, you know, other people have said, she's one of the most patient people in the world, and that helps me because I am not patient. You know, I'm just like, look, let's get done now. And she's like, you need to step back, look at all the aspects. I would own a timeshare right now if it wouldn't have been for her. So I mean, we went on our honeymoon, and I was sucked into a timeshare thing, and I almost bought it. And she's like, "Whoa, we got bills when we get back home. You can't spend all this." So I mean, it's, you know, she's very level-headed. Where sometimes I like to fly high in the clouds, she keeps me grounded.
Now, customers at work don't see me as nearly as patient because I have no patience when someone starts crying. That patience goes right out the window as soon as you know your heart that and you start crying because it's your fault. I have all gone.
I don't cry much. I cry when people die. Other than that,
well, I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna mute all of you. Tough, you're gonna have to deal with it for just a second, and I'm going to minimize all of you as well for just a second, because, well, all right, I'll start with Eric and Megan. I'm going to answer the question about every person here, and I don't know Megan and Eric as well as I do a lot of, especially Josh and Diana, but I feel like I have a sense of something that I really admire about both of them. And for me, especially, I mean, Megan is somebody who's very even keeled, very, she comes off just so poised and elegant in everything she does. And it's really cool. It's just really neat the way she does it, because she's one of us. She's a nerd. She's a geekdom. She has all of that inside of her. And yet, I mean, you can look, she's wearing an evening gown like it is it's just perfect. It's like that's Megan in a nutshell right there. And she's smiling, and that's awesome. I really admire that about her quite a bit. She's very easy to talk to and very easy to she'll tell you how she feels, and she'll do it with a smile on her face, and that's cool. I wish I had half of that sometimes, because so I can get angry and I can get frustrated just as easy. And you know, I try to put a smile on my face, but it gets harder sometimes, especially when I'm driving in traffic. That's the worst of me you'll ever see. But for sure, that's something. And for Eric is somebody who, I mean, he and I are very similar in the way we look at film and analyze film and talk about film, but the way that his passion is, he puts it out there. He doesn't just talk about it. He walks the talk. He walks the walk. He talks about it, but he does it. And I wish I had more time to do it, because I would do more of it. And but I'm 1/10 of the talent that Eric is, from what I've seen of his stuff. And I really think I just really think that's awesome. And that's where hopefully someday I'll get back on the horse and start making movies again. But I love that about Eric. It's just super amazing. So thank you guys for being here tonight. I really do appreciate that. And so then I'm going to go to Mike and Lauren, and I just Mike is somebody who just burst onto our scene, and he's a burster. He bursts in and he takes it over, and he's such a great big personality, and I love that. I really think that's so cool that he's able to do that and just be there and be in that space, and he's so good at it, and it's awesome. And I can't wait to see him put stuff out there that everybody can admire, because I think it's going to blow people's minds. And I'm really excited for that opportunity to help him put that out there and everything that he does. So I really do appreciate that. And Lauren is his equal. Where his balance comes from is from Lauren, and I could see that from day one when we had we had Mike on our show, and she was in the background, and she was curtailing him from time to time, telling him this and that. And I was like, that's cool. That's really cool that you guys are like yin and yang. And I really love that. And I love Lauren's spirit. I love that she's not afraid to put rainbows in her hair. That's awesome. That's fantastic. If I had hair, I would probably do the same, but I don't. So I can't put rainbows in my hair. It would look weird just having a rainbow head. But I'm really, I think the world of these two, and I'm super glad that they were able to come and join us tonight. And so I'm gonna drop you guys down and bring in Ed and Kindra, who I echo what Ed said. Kindra has 100 times the talent I have in my little pinky, and she is just a machine. She is fantastic at what she is and does, and on top of all that, Kindra is a sharer of her. She shares her worlds with other authors. She helps other authors by writing with them, and that to me is so admirable. And I love that. I love that about her and her spirit. And she's just she exudes it every time, and she's really cool. And I love her how she's even keel about it, and it's just awesome. And I'm so glad that I got to know her. And we spent a good couple hours talking to one another when we did the Origin show, and it was a really cool experience because it was really fascinating. We're from the same hometown almost. I mean, that was pretty fascinating to find that out and interesting. But I really love that. And Ed is the guy that when you hear this phrase, it's a terrible phrase. Well, it's not a terrible phrase, but it's when life hands you lemons, you make lemonade. Ed is that guy. He's the lemonade stand. He is the guy that made all the lemonade because he doesn't let shit bother him. He doesn't let it. He takes it on and he tackles it. And I love that about Ed. Ed is so spirited and so strong with his spirit. And he doesn't take shit from anybody. And he does it with class and dignity. And that's the difference. Is that Ed is the guy who really. He can bark at you, but when he barks at you, it's almost like, wow, I feel like a Cosby kid because he's teaching me something, you know. It's really cool, and I just love that about Ed. Ed is an amazing guy for that reason. And thank you guys for being here. And yes, of course, I mean I've already gushed about this guy, and he's been gushed about enough tonight. So forget him. Let's just scratch him out of here, you know. But no, seriously, you know, Josh and I have been friends for quite a little bit of time now, and it's been really awesome. And yeah, of course, I admire Josh as a machine. He's just an absolute machine at anything he does. We were talking about it last night on Drinks with Authors. You went out and did 40 goddamn fucking conventions. I mean, who does that? I mean, you went out there and you had a plan. You did it the right way. You had everything lined up, and it was cool to see that. And you're just everything you do. The writer Imperfect. You had a plan. You executed it. It's awesome. It's an amazing skill. And you're such a great scheduler. You're really good at scheduling things, and that's where I'm deficient, and I learn from you every day on that. So I'm really appreciative of that. And Diana is the spirit we all want to be. I mean, she is like, she lives the Fae. She is the Fae. She is just the sparkle, and she brings everybody. Everybody she talks to loves Diana, and there's a good reason for it because she's awesome. And talking to her, you just feel better about yourself. You feel like, cool. This is cool. She's pretty cool. She you know, that's awesome. And so I always feel good whenever I talk to Diana, and that's why I like talk to her as much as I possibly can. All right, guys. Well, let me bring everybody back in here, and so there you go. I'll take everybody off mute too. I answered the question for everybody, so I hope everybody enjoyed that. I know we kind of derailed the show a little bit with that, so I apologize, but I just felt like I was feeling so much love from all of you. I had to interject.
Can I please answer something for you right now?
Absolutely.
ABV is alcohol by volume.
I totally put that in the
Priority fan.
Thank you, Eric.
Eric is a professional when it comes to the ABV.
When it comes to being an alcoholic, I don't just play one on TV.
Yeah, well, 4.8's not bad. I mean, that's a little less than a Stella, but you know, it's Mexican lager. What can you expect from Mexican lager? But
Eric
so-
got it before I did, but Mike posted it in our chat.
Hey, I'm not wearing glasses.
Yeah, that was my wife. She did that.
I'm the alcoholic.
Because I didn't know what that meant either. You're not alone, Joe. It's okay.
All right. Well, we have 2 more to get through, so let's get into the wacky wake up juice. We might as well go a little bit different and kind of change gears a little bit. So for our wacky wake up juice, it's what is something strange you've done because you've been up so long creating, writing, or just because you've been up for whatever reason. Anybody go? All right, Mike, go for it.
Support.
I have found a milk jug
You're too faint.
I found the milk jugs in the cabinets. In the freezer.
I don't know. It's like I was sleepwalking or something, you know? I mean, it's more like you know, I do the craziest shit in the morning, like when I'm like haven't had my coffee yet, and it's like I'll pull out the milk and I'll like get my cereal, and instead of putting the cereal box back in the pantry, I'll put the milk in the pantry and the cereal in the fridge. I'm like, what? And then people are like, Mike, why'd you do that? And I'm like, I didn't even know I did that. But look, that doesn't happen often. That's like that would be like Alzheimer's if I did.
Yeah, you didn't go full Step Brothers, which you never go full Step Brothers.
Yeah, but no, I mean I've been known to do weird things.
Who else wants to answer? Come on.
I'm trying to think of something I did without alcohol being involved. So just being up late, I don't know. Alcohol involved, I locked myself in a bathroom once and couldn't find my way out. So I just sat down and went to sleep.
In the pee spot, like under the urinal.
I just laid down. Like I kept not find my way out of here tonight. And I just went to bed.
There was one time before we got together when I was, it was, oh God, I don't even know what time it was, but I was sending out business emails. And I sat there and I wrote in the email, and I didn't know it until the next morning when I looked at, or when I got a response from this person, and then I went to look into my sent inbox, or to my sent file, that I had written in an email, you know, all the professionalism stuff. And I was like, I actually wrote, oh no, my battery's about to die. And I don't know how long I'll be able to keep going in this email. And the guy writes back and says something about how confused he is, or how none of that made any sense. And that he thinks that I sent it to the wrong person. And I went and I looked in my sent folder, and lo and behold, I was an idiot the night before.
That's like that answers the Monty Python Castle of Arg. the sleep deprivation.
Yes. And no alcohol involved whatsoever.
Josh probably remembers this. Diane might even remember it too. So for the first B2B SiteCon, I did a 72 hours straight where I was up for the entire weekend for most of it, and slept very little during that time frame. And during Sundays, like it was like 4:00 on Sunday, we're at the tail end of the event, and people are talking, and I'm just like totally zoned out. I'm like totally just like looking straight ahead, and next thing you know, you hear this. I actually fell asleep and started snoring, but my eyes were still awake, and I'd never done. My eyes were still wide open, and I was just like, because I had been up so long, and then Angela started talking to me, and I said, leave me alone, Mom. I'm done with this. She freaked out and was like, what the we need to get Joe off of here. We need to close this up because this is over.
That's called a micro nap, and that means that Freddie is about to get you.
Oh, all right.
You're citing the remake? Oh, I'm done with you.
I'm not done with her. I like her. Keep going.
I was back in college, second time around, and I was awake, much like Joe, almost 72 hours straight, studying, crap like that. And a girl that I was friends with decided, let's go watch that new movie, Paranormal Activity. Now, let me tell you something. If you've been awake for 72 hours,
You don't need to be watching that.
and I literally sat in the movie theater until everybody else cleared out to wait for the little tag at the end that says work of fiction. Because I was like, she's like, come on, let's go. The movie's over. There's nothing left. I'm like, I'll wait for it. That shit was real. And it's a fucking movie. They were on TV the other day. I go, bullshit. I didn't want to go anywhere. And I hadn't drank anything in like 3 weeks either. So this was not alcohol induced. Surely as fuck wasn't drug induced. But I sat there and was like, and she's like, come on, let's go. The next movie's gonna start. I'm like, I'll watch it again to make sure it wasn't real.
We thought the Blair Witch Project
I was
real.
burning sage, all kinds of shit.
I did when I was a kid.
I lost it.
Can I make a recommendation? If we're talking about Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity, please, if you have an Amazon Prime account, or if you've see this movie, Butterfly.
Right into that one, Ed. He walked right into
Yeah, go there. Butterfly, what?
If you'd like to discuss what may or may not be real,
I'm writing it down.
send my child to college, please.
called Butterfly.
So much Blair.
See, I can't really think of anything that I've done because usually when I am sleep deprived or, it's anesthetic induced, I don't have a tendency not to remember things.
That's a good thing.
You're usually the victim, so you would have better stories than me.
I'm always a victim.
So I don't know what the best one is, but
where to begin?
oh,
There was a time I got in the bed and said, no, I'm not going to school today. I'm like, what? No.
Got a little water on it.
It's right after you had that.
oh yeah, because I was still hooked up on Percocet. Yeah,
That was fun. I'll tell you, that was fun. She did weird stuff like coming out of anesthesia too. So
I heard some really interesting things going into anesthesia as well. So
I should have had a video camera going. It would have been fun.
It's the funniest thing you've ever seen. When I was having my son, he's a teenager, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and say that about the It store. He's a teenager, but he what was I saying?
I don't know.
You were just saying about when I don't.
Okay, she lost it.
Well, if it comes back, let us know.
It'll come back.
Lauren has had too much to drink. Cover off.
That's mom brain.
The drugs they put you on when you have a baby. I looked at my mom. My mouth kept hanging open, and I was like, I can't keep my mouth shut. I'm just like my mom. Right to my mom.
Wow. Crazy girl.
How about for you guys, Eric, Megan? You guys have any sleep deprived moments?
I think the worst thing that I've ever done was I used to use an espresso machine a lot for my coffee. And when my daughter was very, very small, she only slept for like 45 minutes at a time. And that includes it at night, like 45 minutes. And then she woke up. I was really, really in bad shape during the first year of her life. And I did a lot of really strange things. One of the strangest was I attempted to fill my espresso machine with unground coffee beans and then brew them rather than ground.
How does that work out? Not very well.
No, not great. Eric has a better one though.
It's one of those things that you've always wanted to try, right, Mike?
I mean, I would try it.
It doesn't work. I don't recommend it.
Like it just comes out as like coffee flavored water, I guess. Like really, or not even a little bit. Oh.
Well, and the espresso machine doesn't like it very much.
Ah.
Our anniversary is actually
What,
5
3 days?
5 days. Anyway.
We can't hear you, Lauren.
Yeah, we're losing you.
For our anniversary in 5 days. Is what I said.
Awesome.
They can't hear it.
Now we can hear you. Anniversary 5 days. The anniversary 5 days. Congratulations.
It's in 5 days on the 27th.
Awesome.
Oh, what's today? Yep. Okay. Today's the 22nd. Just making sure I was right on the date.
Anybody else want to add to this before we move on to the next one?
Eric fell off a porch once.
How much did he have to drink first?
When you tell the punchline, the joke doesn't.
This is really I tell stories very.
Am I real fast? Am I allowed to drop an F-bomb?
Yes.
Am I okay? What the fuck kind of storyteller are you when you tell the punchline at the very?
That's why I'm a writer and not.
So
yeah, I'm not a comedian. I'm a writer.
Exactly.
Once upon a time, I worked for XM Radio, and I worked overnights, and I worked 2 overnight shifts, and in between, I had a wedding job that I shot, and then on the other side, I stayed up all night editing said wedding video. And so I was up for 2.5 days. And at the end of this, which I will say I did consume an entire jug of Yellowtail Shiraz. I walked out of the basement where I was editing. I had a roommate who was a teacher. He was getting up at 6 a.m., making his coffee, ready to go out the door, address his English class. And I was completely strung out of my mind, at which point I took this very lightsaber. I don't know if you can see it, but at any rate, I explained to him why Luke Skywalker's lightsaber in the original Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back was significant in a way that his lightsaber in Return of the Jedi was not, because the lightsaber that Luke Skywalker had, the blue lightsaber, belonged to a noble Jedi Knight who was corrupted, seduced to the dark side of the Force, betrayed his order, betrayed the Republic, murdered Jedi with this lightsaber, battled his mentor with this lightsaber, was burned alive and dropped this lightsaber, which then retrieved by his mentor and held in a box on Tatooine until the day that Anakin's heir could rise and someday put the galaxy aright. I explained all of this after being awake for 2.5 days and consuming an entire jug of Yellowtail Shiraz. Then I went outside onto the back porch, lit this lightsaber up in the dawn, stared at its majesty, made a move, and fell off the porch.
I've never stayed 2.5 days in my entire life. I sleep. I have no problems whatsoever with insomnia. I'm like, oh, really? It's bedtime? It's 10:30. It's bedtime. Good night. And I just knock out.
I can't say I've brewed a pot of water before.
Diana's over there going, that's coffee abuse.
I know.
Seriously.
I know. It was horrible.
How about you guys, Josh? Diana, do you have one? Come on, Josh. I know you've been up like 3 days in a row.
That's what I was just talking to Diana about. Like I've been up for 70, 80 hours straight, and I just go find somewhere and go to bed. If there's not alcohol involved, I'm usually fine.
Again, I think we've all deduced that he is a machine.
Yeah.
Just sleep deprivation doesn't usually mess me up. There's got to be some sort of substance involved. But I've been up for 70 hours many times straight working, and I'm usually fine.
I've never been more worried about our planet being destroyed than I am right now because Josh is a machine.
Fall asleep, all you hear is bloop, beep, bleep.
Now they all know.
I think the apocalypse is going to be started by Josh.
I can't.
Yeah.
Kendra's gonna help.
I think under his shirt is the Skynet logo.
I'm like,
I'm not gonna lie. I think the Earth could use some pruning, so I'd probably welcome that.
Yeah, we need a plague or something. But really, I do want to see a Skynet shirt on you now.
That has to happen now. Mhm.
All right, so the last one we have for everybody is the Jägermeister Maestro Stroke, and yes, Jägermeister has to be the last thing, because that's just the way it is. One thing you're very proud of in your life that you've mastered, and one thing in your life you vowed to master that has yet thus far eluded you, and you cannot say world domination, Josh, or the show will come to a crashing halt.
I have my answer. My answer is easy.
Go for it.
The thing that I'm proud that I've mastered in life is fatherhood. I feel pretty proud of being a father. That's what my life revolves around. So that's the easy one. I think the one that I have yet to master that I'm hoping to at some point is financial freedom.
Nice. That's awesome. That's a great answer.
damn yeah. That's good.
How the hell are we supposed to follow that, Josh?
That's why I lead, Ed. That's why I lead.
Joe, you got to do some damn segregation here or something.
All right. Anybody want to follow that? I mean,
In my mind, immediately.
Jonesy.
Stuff. I'm like, I've been a parent since I was 19, but I got over it. Creatively, though, I had a school read one of my books as a class project, and had the students send me their, drawings of their favorite chapters and their own little explanations of what they think, real chapters actually meant or what I was trying to say. Like you do a book report on like freaking Stephen King or something. And I was like that. I felt like that. I don't know. I mean, it didn't really put me on a, big level or something, but I felt like it did. And it was amazing. I always wanted a classroom to read something that I wrote like that. So that was probably one thing that I've achieved that, makes me feel good about myself and inflates my head a bit. I don't know what I still want to achieve besides going to Scotland. I'm like, I can go to Scotland and I'll die and I'll be happy.
Well, you need to go to Scotland then for
I'm
sure.
not taking you for like 40 years.
In there. It's awesome.
Don't break my heart, man.
we can't hear you, Lauren. Sorry.
Saying something.
Maybe you guys switch seats. Switch seats for a second.
I was just saying that I'll go to Scotland with her because my family has a castle out there. It's really cool. I love Scotland.
I'm gonna have to call you.
The Crawford.
You know how much I want to go to Scotland. That's where most of my family's from.
We'll have a sheep.
But if
farm.
you're planning on dying afterwards, you don't get to go.
No, I'm just saying I could die afterwards, but I won't feel like I've missed anything.
See, Laura, you said that you guys have a castle. I need to come with you.
Yeah, my family's like super, super old in Scotland. The Crawford Castle, it's a thing.
We're going to have to talk. I'm pretty sure the Robertsons are related to the Crawfords.
Really?
Shut the front door. Are we related?
I will check my notes. I run the genealogy for my family, so I will go double check. But I'm pretty sure.
Lots of lip moving, but no sound.
Yeah, I have like lots of old shit in my family, but
I don't have any of that going on in my life.
George Harrison is like only like one generation removed from me.
I don't think his name was George.
George Harrison.
Something
What's his
Harrison.
name? The
Benjamin.
president.
Benjamin.
No, it was George Harrison.
No. Okay. Anyway. So, are we still on that question?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
For now.
All right. So, one of the things, like, I have not mastered really anything in my life. I've gotten pretty good at some things, but I haven't really mastered anything. But I am really proud that I can actually write a decent story, and I'm really happy about that. But one thing that I'm kind of salty about is that I don't read very fast. So like, what Lauren, she reads like a freaking machine. She reads like a Terminator. Like she'll read like 4 books in 2 days, and I'm like 50 pages in on the first book, and I'm like, hey, so that's something that I want to get. But you know what? My reading comprehension is high. I read slow, but I get it. I really get it. You know what I mean? But it pisses me off that I don't read fast. That's what I want to do.
Either if it makes you feel any better.
I'm not a fast reader either, so I'm in your company as well.
That's okay. I'm 4 pages into the book I started, so yeah.
Poor, my friend Jen has been waiting for me to review his book for about 7 months now. I'm still reading it.
Yeah, I mean it's a time investment, but that's all I do anymore. If I'm not writing, I'm reading.
I haven't even touched Josh and Diana's books yet, and they're at the top of my list. So that just tells you how far behind I am. So, anybody else want to answer the question?
I have.
Oh, Josh, I'm still thinking about it.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I've mastered that maybe is not a mastery per se. Well, it's not a proud mastery. It's not like something to like hold upon a pedestal. But I've mastered the art of figuring out what you're doing next. I'll give you a good example. My wife turned me on to a series just recently called Dead to Me, and I watched the first 5 minutes and I turned to her and go, if this happens, I'm telling you right now, I'm walking out the door. She goes, how the hell did you know that was going to happen? And I figured out the whole thing in 5 minutes. And that's just something I do. It's just like instinct. I don't know how, why, but and then she gets mad at me because she asked me, do you know what's going to happen next? I go, yes. And she goes, don't tell me. And then she goes, they tell me. And then I tell her, and then she goes, fuck you. And then
I can totally relate to that, Joe. Like, it's almost like I have a psychic ability, but I don't. But every once in a while, I'll be like thinking about like, what song I haven't heard in a long time? And then like I turn on the radio and it's that song on the radio. And I'm like, ooh.
I was in the Marines. When I was in the Marines, I was in Okinawa, and the only thing that we could do, because we got stuck on the base because 2 Marines and a naval person raped a 13-year-old Okinawan girl, so we had to be stuck on the base for about 6 months. I was there. The only thing we could do was go to the movies. They bought a bunch of movies in, and one of the movies was Seven, and we were watching it.
That was a good movie.
And we were in a big giant theater, and then the moment when the truck comes crossing the threshold of the screen across the desert, and I go, oh, it's her head, and everybody. And I swear to God, I've never gotten a beating harder than that. And people were just like, really like, fuck you. Don't ever come here again. You're not allowed in our theater. I wasn't even that accurate.
And not looking for Ogo.
What's that, Eric? I didn't hear what you said.
Why were you spoiling the ending if you were an Okanagan and not looking for Ogopogo? Just like everybody's talking about going to Scotland. I spent a week living in a cottage on the shores of Loch Ness. So, I mean, monsters, man. If you really want to be able to, creatively inspire yourself, monsters.
Well, I want to have the thing I want to master to answer the second part of the question is I want to master being able to do everything at once. I want to be the machine that Josh is. I want to be, I want to write tons of books, make tons of movies, and do this 24/7. But sometimes you have to make decisions, and you can't do it all. So I've accepted that in my peril. But maybe someday I'll turn into a machine. Who knows?
Can I answer the question?
Yes, sir.
So when he was just over 2 years old, my son was diagnosed as being on the autism spectrum, and not to bring like the party down or anything, but that completely transformed me as a father. It changed all of the expectations I had for my son. It changed all of the daily routines we had and all of the things that, I could reasonably expect from him. But it also meant that I needed to change who I was, and I needed to invest a level that, as a parent, you expect I'm going to give X, Y, or Z, and then it requires 1, 2, and 3. But suddenly having this, being the situation, it meant I needed to go further than even I could have expected. That transformed my life, and it resulted in my son going further than was expected, and he continues to go further. And as a result, I began doing volunteer work as a filmmaker. I began, mentoring filmmakers who are on the autism spectrum. I'm now on the board of directors for the local autism society. I say this not as back patting or anything, but rather just to say, if there was something that I mastered, it was the ability to want to be more as a father.
Nice.
And there is something that I still have yet to achieve as a father. It is to be more. So it's always a quest, and we're always chasing the dragon's tail. And all we can do is do our best and love the people in our lives.
Nice. That's awesome.
Cheers, everyone.
That's a good fella right there. That's a good fella right there. How do I point over there? There you go.
And you want to follow that one?
You're fucking with me. This is all the shit that I was going to say. Kindra actually has something she was going to say. I'll follow.
Okay, so as far as something that I've mastered, it's definitely been my education. I'm one of really the only one in a few generations of my family that has actually graduated college, and even went as far as to get a master's degree, period. I don't think anybody else in my family actually went this far, but as far as a bachelor's degree, even just an associate's, I'm the first in quite some time. My grandfather on my mom's side actually worked for, I believe she said it was NASA. He was a brilliant engineer, and since then, nobody else really went. And so I feel like that's definitely something that I've mastered. I feel like I've become an expert in these different things that I decided to study. As far as what I'd like to perfect, and I think it's something that every writer wants, is to have impact. So I want to be able to impact something with what I create. And like I said, I think all of us pretty much want the same thing.
Nice.
Okay. Something that I have mastered. I have mastered the art of deceiving people that I actually know what the fuck I'm doing.
Oh my goodness.
No, in all seriously, something that I've mastered in my life, the ability to rise up when something tries to knock me down. It doesn't matter what it is, health, people, business, whatever. I jump up and I just take it head on. I don't care what it is. I've been kicked out of places. I've been at the bottom of the barrel and scraped my way back up to the top. And I've been completely destitute. Now I own a house and 4 cars and a camper and land and all kinds of other crap. So, I think I've mastered the fact that I don't let shit hold me back. What I'd like to master, I would like to impart wisdom on a next generation, a child, somebody who needs help. We had a dude that lived down the road from us who got kicked out of his house, came down the road barefoot in the middle of August, walking on asphalt. In South Carolina, it was 110 that day. And I gave him shoes, I gave him socks, gave him clothes because he didn't even have a t-shirt on. And then I put his ass to work. He gave him like $50 a day to help me paint the house and help me do some shit around the house. Then I helped him get into rehab. And I told him that I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing it for you. I want you to come back to me someday and say, man, I made it. And it was because you helped that I was able to see that there was a light at the end of that tunnel. That dude is still in rehab. He is getting clean, and he is in another state now, so that's good because he had to get away from this area. I heard from that woman at Charles Lee not too long ago. I would like to be able to impart wisdom. I think that if you can tell somebody something and it sticks with them, like you do with a child, or you mentor somebody and it sticks with them and they better their life because of something that you helped them with, that is like the ultimate reward for everything that you've experienced and beat the shit out of on the way. So if I could do that and you become the first one-legged man in the ass-kicking contest to win it, that would be awesome too. I literally have one leg, that's why I said that.
That'd be awesome. And I'll be there when you get the medal, brother. I will be there. I promise.
I have to take it from Josh. I'll probably Eric.
I think, Diana, have you answered?
Yeah, I did. My thing was
yeah.
Two ladies at the bottom. Come on. Let's hear it.
Look, I had a cute answer about how like I've mastered all the yoga moves, but I haven't mastered the yoga mindset. Like it's not cute anymore. It's not cute anymore. Everybody else covered it.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
I can't do a single.
That's a accomplishment.
There are so many advantages to downward dog. I mean, it's
Legit, except for every time I do the downward dog, my dog literally thinks that she's supposed to come hold me up.
advantages.
It's like we have a pet wolf, and she likes to do yoga with me. So the downward dog is her favorite position.
She's just trying to help you get into your zen.
Yeah. She's my spirit animal.
She's a wolf. She's a spirit animal.
She's beautiful too. You've seen her?
Yeah.
How about you, Lauren? What is your answer to the question?
Well, I have spent the past 20 years in the hair industry. So obviously I have mastered color. That's what I've mastered. What I would like to master is being financially stable, having all of my ducks in a row all the time, having a perfect credit score, and being able to do whatever I want, whenever I want, without having to ask permission from anyone.
Bingo.
Nice. That's awesome. All right. So I'm getting an echo. All right. So, Mr. Joshua Robinson, you ready for your street cred to be redeemed?
It's multiple choice.
Multiple choice. That wouldn't be fair.
I'm afraid I'm going to fail this. We'll fail together.
Canadian history is a very special day for certain fandom out there. A fandom that you know quite well has to do with some rings. And I'm wondering if you know what that special day in history is.
I don't, because it's not Bilbo Baggins' birthday. That's in September.
Not. Close, though. You're close.
Is it Frodo's birthday?
No,
they have the same birthday. Bilbo and Frodo have the same birthday.
Does anybody know the answer? Does anybody want to answer it? I'll let somebody else answer it if they want.
Oh, it's the day that Anakin got circumcised. I was kidding.
Anybody know?
I'm going to venture to guess that it's Gandalf's birthday.
Eric knows. Let Eric answer.
No, go.
Do you know Ed? I'm sorry. Did you say something? Did you say Ed?
Oh, well, I was going to venture to guess that it's Gandalf's birthday.
No, today.
The release of the first version.
Gandalf doesn't have a birthday. He is a Maiar who has come over from Valinor to Middle Earth.
That's right.
Thank you, Eric.
I read those books when I was 12, man.
Today, Bilbo Baggins returned to his home in Bag End after the Hobbit adventure ended. Today is the day that happened.
In 2018?
To an auction.
See, I'm the Lord of the Rings addict in this house, and I didn't even know that, so don't worry.
No, I'm done. I get all candy cards tomorrow.
No.
They were selling all of his stuff, and Lobelia Sackville Baggins was taking all the silver spoons, and Bilbo had to, in the end, buy back most of his possessions and prove that he was not indeed dead. Ever after, he was disreputable amongst, Hobbiton, and it was not until some of his younger cousins grew up that he began to have fans and admirers, the youngest of which was young Frodo Baggins, whose father, Drogo, drowned in a boating incident, and I'm never getting laid again.
You did it to yourself, brother.
I am impressed that you guys think about this much. I don't have time for that.
You're getting laid more than I am. That's
well. Let me just say, I felt really awful, and I did for about 35 seconds feel really awful that we lambasted Josh last time he was on here with his cred, with his nerdom cred. So I wanted to give him a chance to redeem himself, and now I'm only going to feel awful for about 10 seconds. So Josh, every time that you don't answer the question, I feel better about myself. So
yeah, a shovel, I was going to dig a deeper hole.
I would just like to say that those who can get laid, those who can't write articles for Ain't It Cool News.
Nice. All right, everybody. Well, the time has come. This has been a really fun Joe's Bar. Thank you guys for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Everybody in the chat, you guys have been here from the beginning. I've not seen the number go up or down all that much. So thank you so much for being here and hanging out with us and enjoying this. Everybody needs to have something to toast. And I am actually, normally I write these toasts, but today I am stealing a toast because I thought it was apropos. Because I went to the Back Festival last weekend. And so my friends at Pennywise wrote this toast, and I'm going to repeat it. And so to all my friends, present, past, and beyond, especially those who weren't with us too long, life is the most precious thing you can lose. While you were here, the fun was never ending. Laugh a minute was only the beginning. My friend David, Sam, Ani, and Mama Estrada, this one is for you. Cheers.
This one's for you. That's one of my favorite songs.
And with that, Joe's Bar officially closed. Thank you, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks, guys and girls.
Thanks, guys.
Girls.